Hey everybody, and welcome back to Super Comic Fun Times Daily Vlog. This one is for Saturday, April 21st, 2018. So I decided to change my format a little bit and start with some breaking news. First up in the news, not really comic book related, but kind of geek culture related, and that is the sad news that Vern Troyer, who played Mini-Me in the Austin Powers movies, has died at age 49. It appears that he was suffering from depression, and I guess he was hospitalized after drinking too much and being treated for alcohol poisoning, and he passed away from that. And the reason it struck me especially today is I was cleaning out my basement and I found an old VHS tape of Austin Powers. I think it might have been the first one. I don't really know. I didn't look at it. I just put it aside to give to the Goodwill because I don't use VHS tapes anymore, and I thought somebody would enjoy it. And, you know, I always enjoyed his performances. There's like something about modern comedy that I don't like is all of the body humor jokes and the crap jokes. Grosses me out. You know, I was listening to Nick the Rat Show the other day, and I've only listened to that one like a few minutes after No Agenda ends. And this one, though, I was listening to a little longer because it was a tribute to Art Bell, who died on Friday the 13th of this month. And I was a fan of Art Bell back in the day. I remember I used to read a bunch of stuff like in Fate magazine, and they would bring up this radio personality in New York back in the 50s named Long John Neville. And I was just so sad that there was nothing like this for, you know, me. And then a little while later, around 1995, is when I first discovered Art Bell. And I was like hooked for years. I really enjoyed his show. And at the same time, I kind of felt when he got out, it was probably a good time for him to get out. He tried to make a couple of comebacks, and I don't think it worked. Excuse me. I don't think it worked when he tried his comebacks because the world had changed, but he was still trying to do the same show, and that can be a problem. But anyways, I guess I've digressed. The thing I wanted to say about Vern Troyer is I really enjoyed his pantomime. You know, when he was playing Mini-Me, this the way him and Mike Myers were able to coordinate. You know, the finger thing and just his, you know, the way he was able to act was it was really fun. You know, and since he didn't say anything in the movie, I was really glad when I saw him in some other roles and that he could speak. So excuse me. Enjoying a Fantasy Factory right now. It's an IPA from, well, yeah, is it Fantasy Factory? I forget if that's the name of the beer or the name of the brewery. But anyways, so yeah, that's where we started with the sad passing of Vern Troyer. And, you know, there is just something very comic bookish about Austin Powers. I really like stuff like The Avengers, the TV show The Avengers from the 60s with Steed and Mrs. Peel. And I like that aspect of the Mike Myers projects, and I think they were enjoyable. And yeah, so it's very sad to hear that Vern Troyer passed. I was even sadder to hear that he suffered from depression. It's a terrible disease, and I don't wish it on anyone. So next up is a bit of shocking news. Now, I first reported on this on my Twitter feed way back, I think in February. Not exactly sure, either February or early March. But I was kind of surprised this story hasn't been bigger, but this has to do with Allison Mack, who was in the TV show Smallville, which was kind of a Superman, pre-being Superman. And I never really watched the show. I saw one or two episodes, and I wasn't into comic books at the time. And I forget, there was something else that was on in the time slot when Smallville was on back in the day, and so I just never watched it. And I thought, well, someday I'll get the DVDs and sit down and watch the whole thing, but hasn't happened yet. Anyways, so she apparently had been part of this, what they're calling a sex cult called Nexium, which might also it was supposed to be a self-help cult, and she supposedly was recruiting women for this inner circle of mentors, where it was supposed to be women mentoring women, but they were actually being convinced to have sex with the group's leader named Keith Raniere. Now that name sounds so familiar to me, and I cannot figure out why. I listened, I'm a audio addict. I listen to a lot of radio. I don't listen to so much radio anymore, but podcasts and YouTube, and I listen to YouTube more than I watch it. So I'm sure, I'm trying to figure out if this guy was, when The Secret was big, there would be different groups who would give these interviews away with people who were in The Secret. Now, he wasn't in The Secret, but I could imagine him being in something like that, or some they have like these week-long, they call them festivals or whatever, where they teach you about tapping and stuff like that. So I am into self-help stuff, so I think I might have heard of him at some point, but I don't know. Anyways, so Ellison Mack's role in this was she supposedly procured women for this guy and herself, and these women were branded. So that's a shocking story. I'm not sure why it isn't bigger. I'm not sure why it wasn't blowing up way back in whenever I first reported on it on Twitter. It just seemed like nobody cared. There was like kind of a small rumbling when I searched on her name, but hardly it's all kind of in the subconscious layer of Twitter. Nothing was trending. And so she pleaded not guilty. So she's accused, but she's pleaded not guilty to any crimes. And we'll have to see how this plays out. So then I think we are going to, let me just see, I've never done this. I've never tried to share screen on Google Hangout, but now we're going to go for some happy news after all of that. And I'm going to attempt to go through today's comiXologies. I just want to bring that up. And I've got the sales page up. Now, okay, let's see. Here we go. I think I tried this before, and I can only share stuff from, since I'm running it on Chrome, Chrome only lets me share stuff from Chrome. Okay, so there we go. So let's just take a look at what's on sale this weekend. There's a Black Widow and Hawkeye sale, and there are 122. It's including a Daredevil Epic collection, but it contains 122 entries. So like this one, I might be tempted to get this one. It's normally $29, and this is for $9.99. I'm not sure what this story entails. And let's see if there's anything else. To be honest, I'm not all that interested in either Hawkeye or the Black Widow. I like them fine in the movies, but they've never really appealed to me that much. So here we go. Oh, that's right, because back in the day, Daredevil and Black Widow and Natasha would be kind of hanging out. They're kind of partners in the book. So, okay, that's why the Daredevil books are in there. So if you're a fan of Daredevil, you might find some nice Daredevil books in here too. So these are just single issues, tales of suspense. So that's back when Iron Man wasn't in his own book. Okay, so let's go back. And then there's a 170 Black Panther sale, 170 items. I already have this one. I think I got this one for free when Black Panther came out, and I haven't read it yet. Amazon, whenever a Marvel movie comes out, check your Amazon mail, because a lot of times they have free comic books. They did, at least for Thor Ragnarok and the Black Panther, they did. And I will be checking on the day. And usually it's only for the one day, the day that the movie's released. So if it's released on a Thursday, it's that Thursday. You kind of have to pay attention, or you could miss out if you're interested in getting it. So yeah, again, Black Panther, I'm not a big fan of Black Panther. Haven't read the book. I thought the movie was really good. Having to take a sip. And I got a couple of Civil War books that aren't just Civil War. The main Civil War story, I find it so depressing that I've never really read any of the other books I bought. Like I think I got the Captain America and Iron Man Civil War tie-ins. And okay, that's enough of that for me. Let's go back. Okay, and then Wicked and Divine. Don't know anything about Wicked and Divine, but if you are a fan of it, you can get the digital versions on sale right now. Deadly Class Sale. Again, don't know anything about this one. Dark Horse Earth Day Sale. So yeah, I guess this Department H, which is also like Depth. I've heard something about it, but I don't remember what I heard. I think it might have been like this one podcast I listened to. I can't even think of the name of it right now, but I think they might have reviewed it once, and I think they given it middling reviews, so it never stuck out as anything I had to check out. Again, don't know what Golden Kame is. It might be anime, I'm not sure, or manga, sorry. And then Superman's 80th sale has been going on all week. And let's see, I guess I really like to read Red Sun sometimes, so that's probably one I should pick up. Trinity, that one looks good. Superman Justice League. Kingdom Come, I have. I'm not sure why it's not. This might be a different edition. I've got one of the digital versions of it. That's a pretty good story. I think originally it was like an alternate story, and they tried to make it fit in because it takes place really far in the future. Really what it is I think that's where continuity screws up sometimes, because sometimes the story is just commenting on the current trend, and I think Kingdom Come was more or less commenting on the kind of really wild and Sacrifice. Sacrifice is part of Infinite Crisis. It's like before Infinite Crisis starts. This book takes place within, like, they just had a whole bunch of books that they had Countdown to Infinite Crisis. Then they had it wasn't Forever Evil, but they had like 4 different books. They had OMAC, which stands for One Man Army Corps, and then Villains United? I forget, but there were like 4 different books that were about 8-issue miniseries, and then this one like came out of one of them, and you had to go to these books to, and then you had to loop back in. And it's like, they ever come up with the omnibus for? Maybe they have. I don't know, but it would be good because it's kind of hard to read everything in order. Okay. And Superman, Wonder Woman. What's this one here? Superman for all seasons. I heard that's a good one. Oh yeah, here's one I've got. Superman Doomed. I liked it. It was I think it was part of the New 52, but it was a pretty good story. Superman gets infected with, I think he defeats Darkseid, and Darkseid releases some kind of spores or something, and Superman starts turning into a doomsday type creature, and him and Lois Lane aren't an item in there. She's like an intrepid reporter. It's like kind of a different take. New Krypton, Superman's Secret Identity. So yeah, you can see I don't have very many Superman books. I'm more of a fan of his other properties, going back to the George Reeves series. See if I'm going back to the right thing. Oh no, I went all the way back. I could have just hit this. Okay, then let's scooch down past Superman. Okay, Road to Action Comics. Yeah, of course, Action Comics 1000 came out. I still haven't got it. I went to my local comic book store on Friday, but they were out. Getting more next week. I thought about going to another one today, but I just hit the 2 half-price books in town. And so, yeah, just a lot of Superman books. Just see if there's anything else on sale worth noting, and then we will. Okay, so I guess this is more manga on sale. Oh, there's a Spider-Man blockbuster sale. I've got like quite a few Spider-Man books. I've read the Superior Spider-Man, and let's see, what's this one? Spider-Man Lizard, No Turning Back. I've got that one. Haven't read it yet. That's like the bad thing about these Ultimate Spider-Man one. This one I got free. This was free in the free section of Comixology one day, so I picked that up. And so yeah, these are single issues now, the Ultimate Spider-Man. Okay, let's go back. So yeah, still got a cough, still got a cold. I ate late today, so my energy went down. So Ani has a 6-gun sale. Now, I liked Letter 44 up to a point. I read it until the issue, which just like everybody was killing everybody, and it just, what's going on here? And I stopped reading it. So someday I'll have to go back and Conquest is on sale and finish Letter 44, just so I can say I completed it. And Dark Horse manga sale. Man, they got a lot of stuff on sale this week. Dynamite massive collection sale. So what they got here, Train Called Love, Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters. I mean, yeah, I don't know who they're marketing to. I'm not getting that. Let's see. Humanoids. Now, I like humanoids. At least I like the Inkle, which is the only thing I've read. I'd like to read some more of these someday. More anime. Oh, and this was free. This is still free. So, yeah, right now you can get the first volume of Valerian, the City of the Shifting Water for free. So you should probably do that. It's normally $10. And, you know, it's free. Why not? If you never read it, it was free. If you do read it and like it, maybe you'll become a big Valerian fan. I'd like to read it. And that's why I got it. So, okay. So that's what's on sale at Comixology this weekend. Let's stop screen sharing. Okay. And here, it's time for another sip. So then today, like I mentioned, I was cleaning out my basement. My cat died in 2012, so it's been 6 years. An appropriate, more than appropriate time of mourning. So I started getting rid of all of your stuff, and I kind of got depressed anyways. And it just kind of struck me, how could this little creature have so much stuff? But it's amazing. It's truly, truly amazing. So, the only thing I haven't been able to part with yet that I know I still have are her dishes, and I might just bury those where I have her buried. I listened to a psychic once, a pet psychic, and, he gave some good advice. It's like, one thing is you don't want your animal to suffer. So, if it gets to the end, because he said like he had done this, he had a cat and he went away to college and his mom called, the cat's sick. What do you want to do? And he just said, do anything you can to save its life. But, they have finite lives just like we do. And he realized later that the cat suffered a lot while he was trying to save his life, save the cat's life. And the other thing he said is like one of the most precious possessions your animals have is their food bowls. So it's like, usually like you can give them your other toys, the cat's other toys, but the food bowl is kind of special to the cat because they like food. I mean, that's the very animal thing. It's like the reason your animal loves you is because you give it food. Maybe it likes you for other reasons too, but the main reason is because you give it food. So maybe it's cynical, but sometimes cynicism is warranted. So anyways, I was feeling kind of depressed. And when I get depressed, I like to go to Half Price Books and see if there's something that could lift me up. I thought about going to my other local comic book store to see if they had Action 1000 there too, but I decided that I was I didn't really eat lunch because of everything. I guess I had lost my appetite. So I walked into my closest HPB and I found some more packs there. They had lots of packs today. And because you asked for it, they had to go ahead and make Excalibur its own comic book. So now, 20, 30 years later, I have to read it. I just thought it looked cool. It's Excalibur #1. It's from the 90s. Probably, since it's part of this pack, it's not going to be worth much. But I thought it's kind of cool. It's a #1. This one, I don't know. What is it called? It's called She Cryblade. I don't know anything about it, and I'm not a big fan of the art. Um, it's just kind of too plasticky, as it's wrapped in plastic. But I will check it out. It could be good. I can't tell the name of the company, but this is probably from early 2000s, late 90s. But this one is kind of cool. That's the main reason I got this book. I do like this artwork on here, I mean, they're introducing you to themselves. And yeah, so I decided to go with that one. And then in the same drawer, I noticed this one that had some writing on it. So I decided to look at that. And this one has Silver Sable. And according to this little note here, which I'll read you in a second, it says Silver Sable and the Wild Pack, 1 through 35. So that's kind of cool. I'm not really familiar with Silver Sable at all, but I thought I would give it a try. And of course, this first issue is starring Spider-Man. And he's got his webbing under his arms. And then this cover looks cool. It's obviously from the 90s. It's got the when they started to go with the really gimmicky covers, but it looks good. She's in that silver. She doesn't look good. I might not have. Well, actually, she does when I look at her. When I look at her in the camera, it doesn't look that good. It looks just kind of gray. But when I look at it in real life, it looks pretty good. So of course, it's an embossed cover too. I like the art for this. It just looks really beautiful. So I thought I'd take a chance and see if I'll like this Silver Sable. Like I say, it's a character I'm not familiar with really at all. I've heard of the Silver Sable. I've heard people talk about her, but it was just not on my... Oh, and I just badmouthed Civil War. I didn't even notice this. I just kind of went with that, but it's like Heroes for Hire, Civil War. So another Civil War book, which I probably won't read. So yeah. So then, I didn't even notice this. It also has Heroes from Hire 1 through 12. So I don't know if that means like the original book. I don't remember if the original book in the 70s was called Power Man and Iron Fist, or if it was called Heroes for Hire. So it'll be interesting to see. From what I can tell, just looking at the side here, all of the one, to me, I think they're all like 90s books. So I will know more when I finally get around to opening that pack. And that was all I was going to get. I was just going to get that. And but then I made my way back to the comic book area after finding, I did find another one of my Parker books, and it was very exciting. And I just looked at it. And a lot of times with these books, I'll look them up on Amazon first before deciding, but I put it in my cart. I said, oh, it's a Parker book, something with an outrageous name, Omni Cosmics, Miracle Power Beyond the Subconscious by Ann Fisher. I don't know who Ann Fisher is, but according to the back of the book, here's what she looks like. So what it says here is that she is a nationally recognized psychic, medium, parapsychologist, and ghost hunter. See, I was amazed when I heard, I don't think I heard about ghost hunters until after the show. Except for I guess I'd read about some in books, but I didn't know it was such a big thing going all the way back until I got this book. I heard I have a friend in Minneapolis who became, she might have been a founding member of this ghost hunters group, but anyway, she was part of a ghost hunters group. I have no interest in ghost hunting. I kind of think ghosts, for the most part, should be left alone. I think I do like what was that movie? The Sam Raimi movie with Michael J. Fox, where he's a ghost hunter, but he's a scammer, and he's got two ghost friends who they haunt people, and then Michael J. Fox shows up to remove the ghosts. I like that whole concept. So that would be my only use for ghosts, if they were kind of like buddies of mine like that. But I don't have any interest in going into haunted houses and scaring myself half to death. But anyways, if you want to know the main secret to occult power, it's relaxation. That's what I found. All of these books usually have you get into a relaxed state, and it makes sense to me. I know that I have been suffering from anxiety ever since I was a little kid. I remember I used to be going to sleep and I would kind of imagine going into this dark cave, and it would be like, what would happen to me? And like I would imagine I was like a little king, like a boy king or something like that. And like I had all these army soldiers I could command. So we're going into this cave. I don't even remember what my premise was or why I was imagining this. But so I like had flanks of soldiers in front of me to protect me from anything coming in front. Um, a bunch in back. Then I had some on my left side and my right side. And then I go, well, what about if they come from under the ground, or what if they come from above? And so like, yeah, it's kind of weird because that in itself is kind of an occult practice. It's like, uh, there are many ways to do it. Like I mostly use roses, but I also use archangels, and you know, for each of the cardinal points, you set up an archangel to protect you, or for each of the directions of your body, you place a rose there. And with the roses, it's kind of simple. They just kind of sit there and they absorb other people's energy. And then from time to time, you trade them out with fresh roses. So, uh, so yeah, I just find that interesting that, yeah, and then like with the archangels, it's the same thing. You summon them, you imagine them being these towering beings, and so yeah, I don't know why I was thinking about that when I was like 8 or 9 years old, but that's just one of my memories of being very anxious when I'm trying to go to sleep, and I had some terrible nightmares at the time. And at the same time, I was always attracted to things like horror movies. I wanted to watch horror movies. My parents finally were like, nope, you can't watch them. And if anything came on, uh, you know, as an advertisement for a scary movie, I had to leave the room. So I wanted to know what was happening. So, but anyways, like I say, those 2 packs were the only ones I were going to get. But then I came back to the comic books place, and I was going to just look through the Action Comics. You know, having missed out on Action 1000 so far, I thought I would see what they had in half-price books. But they had this 1 pack in this own area, and it was a Batman pack. And it was like, oh man, I already picked my 2 packs. Otherwise, I would have picked this one. Then I go, well, you know what? In September, when it's Batman Day, you can unpack this. You can unpack this for Batman's Day. So that's how I convinced myself to buy this one. And this looks like it's a lot of Nightfall, Night Quest books, which was a series done in the early 90s. And I have 3 books. They just came out with 3 hardcovers, I think 3, that are more complete than the soft cover trades I bought back in the day. Let me just get that for you and show you. So I got these. DC reprinted these in the wake of The Dark Knight Rises, and I was very happy they did. Of course, that's a Bane story, and this is Bane's first appearance in this one. And so there's like Bane all hopped up on Venom, breaking Batman's back. Very iconic image. I like these books a lot. Some people think it's a good attempt, but flawed. And, you know, it is flawed, but I liked them all. The only thing, or the main thing these are missing is at one point, Bruce Wayne goes away and he puts, what's his name? Jean-Paul Valley, to take up the mantle of Batman in his absence. And he goes kind of out of control because he himself, we're coming back full circle. He was raised by this religious cult, and his mind was programmed to, what was it, the Order of Saint Dumas. So at any rate, Bruce Wayne goes away and then he comes back and his back is fixed. And they don't have the stories about how he got healed, which if they would have just included one, but you know, when they were writing the books after he came back, he was just healed. He wasn't ready to take back the mantle of Batman yet. He had to go through training. So he does training. And then he takes on Jean-Paul Valley and wins back the mantle of the Bat. But yeah, these are very good books. And you know, since I've got these and I read these, I really didn't feel the need to get the new omnibuses. And these are very good in and of themselves. I've read at least the first volume a couple of times, And one thing that I like about it is DC has all of these. It's so weird because their universe doesn't feel anything like our world to me. But they would like have and then they had the Clintons in the Death of Superman, and then in this book they don't call him Rush Limbaugh, but they have a Rush Limbaugh like character. And I think they had a G. Gordon Liddy type character, even though they don't call him that. And back in the early '90s, the talk radio was really hot, and those two guys were big names. And all of that stuff, though, takes place more in the first volume, and then that kind of drops off. And I don't know why, but I think the story was so engaging to me with Jean-Paul Vallée as Batman. And I've heard some people hated that, and that also was a reaction to what was going on at the time with like more violent comic books. So it's like, everybody was like talking, well, this is what I've heard. So, and this is how my mind wrapped up what I heard. So everybody at the time was talking about how great it would be if Batman was more like one of these superheroes, maybe at Image Comics, that killed people. And then like the writers of these books, which one of them was Doug Mensch, who's our Mr. Miracle guy right now. He was like, no, you wouldn't. And so they gave him Jean-Paul Vallée to be, and he never really kills somebody, but he lets somebody die. And so that's interesting because in Batman Begins, Batman tells Ra's al Ghul, I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you. And so, it's arguable whether that came from this set of books or not. But of course, Bane did, later on in the Dark Knight Rises, Batman getting his back broken. So yeah, very exciting day from that. It helped me with the grief I was experiencing. And so now let's just go ahead. Now I still have one more of this run to read, but I thought I would just talk about the Mr. Miracles. So we have 23 and 24. Now this one was excellent. When I saw this one, when I looked at the cover, it was like Miracle on Two Worlds. Now, longtime DC fans will know that this is a reference to Crisis on Earth 1, Crisis on Earth 2, Crisis on Multiple Earths, all that sort of thing. So like, I wondered what's going to happen, because I also remembered that Justice League I read, a few weeks ago, where it was like one of the crisis issues, the yearly crises they had, and the JSA and JLA were transporting themselves to wherever they were supposed to meet, and they ended up on New Genesis and then on Apocalypse. And I never got the second part of that one, but it was a lot of fun. So I wondered what would be going on there. And if you recall, Doug Mensch, Joe Phillips, and Bob Dvorak were the writer and artist for this one. And also Highfather had showed up because he's like, why are you and Barda throwing away your heritage as, beings who aren't mortals? Like, are they all gods in New Genesis? I don't know enough. So what you got going on here is our guy with the top hat comes back to start his surveillance again. And look, he's like looking right at us. So I find this a curious statement. What are they trying to tell us with this? So he goes, presence of the visiting subject codenamed the Old Man now conclusively confirmed. Apparel seems eccentric. Not noted for the record, could be a possible competitor. So then it's the first time we get what this guy is here for, is like, they want something from the Freeze. We don't know what yet. And so you also remember that, what's his name? Shiloh became the new Mr. Miracle, and he was out for his test drive, and Mother Box kind of slammed him around. So that's the basis for this story. And I think what they're saying to us here is like, we know that, we want to make Shiloh the new Mr. Miracle. You guys are probably attached to Scott, but let us show you why Shiloh is worthy of being Mr. Miracle. And so what happens is Scott and Shiloh, they kind of get the two mother boxes, and like that's what's going on at the beginning. As Scott is talking to Highfather, it's like, why did the mother box reject him? And then they decide to like do this meditation where they go into the mother box. And while all this is going on, Oberon is swindling Highfather at poker. And it's really annoying because, I mean, in a sense, it doesn't make any sense. So there's a nice bit of artwork from this issue. So yeah, they're kind of like going in, it's kind of like a wonderland of the subconscious. You've got like a cracked teacup, you know, eyes everywhere. It's very, very, what is that called? The art movement. It's not datist, it's surreal. It's very, very surreal. So, let's just see. Oh boy, spark arrow discs, mother box. Slow us down. Do something before I break my nose or on a cracked teacup. And then that's Shiloh. And so Scott is, Shiloh, I'm not sure she can hear us. Then why did she give us light? Because yeah, everything was dark for a while, and then yeah, they're like falling in darkness, and then one of them says, you know, let there be light. So then back at the apartment for a second, but then it's just like one frame. I'm not sure why they do that. So like, yeah, on this page, it's like, you know, they're still falling, and then we're suddenly back in the apartment for one frame where Highfather is accusing Oberon of cheating while Barda is looking for a job in the classifieds. And then here we got something like out of D&D, like, you know, Scott gets imprisoned in this kind of dodecahedron type die, and while Shiloh is relatively free. And then on New Genesis, we have this writing on the wall. Now, this is something that we see right from the beginning of the New Gods. When Orion shows up to Highfather, there's some writing on the wall about Darkseid being up to no good. So if the two are one must be proven the other's equal. So yeah, that's what's going on here. And then the people of New Genesis, what can that mean? And then somebody else says, perhaps only Source knows. And then, so yeah, see. So yes, Shiloh has to like kind of do these challenges while Scott's in prison, and then Shiloh breaks into the dodecahedron with Scott, and he's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to get me out and not break in. But once he gets in here, we get this interesting thing where the mother box starts comparing them. So it's like you've got Scott Free was given away by his father and had to suffer on Apocalypse. Shiloh was abandoned by his mother. So like, you know, because the mother box is trying, or Source or something is like trying to make sure that they're equal, because mother box just really kind of didn't want anything to do with Shiloh. So it's like, you know, they were both in orphanages. They both had abusive foster care. So, you know, that's what's her name, Granny Goodness, and that's Shiloh's foster father or something like that. And let's see, not free even outside the shadow. So like what it's saying is like orphanage, abuse, despair, death when somebody close to them died. You know, Scott escapes. He escapes into the police station, which I don't really know enough about his backstory. So then we have hope and hope. So I guess a police officer gave Shiloh hope. Miracle. So like, you know, Scott Free meets the original Mr. Miracle when it comes to Earth, and then Scott is the miracle for Shiloh. So then, like, you know, trapped again by killers, free now but never free. So like, you know, because yeah, Scott's escaped from New Apocalypse, but he carries a lot of baggage. So never, then hero, but they're both heroes. So yeah, so that's how Mother Box has to go through and do her process to deal with Shiloh as the new. And I loved it. I loved reading every minute of that. And I think that's the end of all of those comparisons. So yeah, that, you know, so yeah, Mother Box does everything to make sure that Shiloh is worthy, and in the end, decides that they are the same. Like there can only be one Mr. Miracle, but if there's two, then the other has to be the equal of the other. And so yeah, then we come back to the apartment. Highfather burns up the cards because Oberon's been cheating, and he's like doing really angry stuff. And I don't know, would you like try to swindle a god? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. And then Barda is bummed out because she's not qualified for any of the jobs because she's looking for a job as a warrior, and they don't have any warriors. But then Oberon's favorite TV show is this, was it Beautiful or Big Babes, Bodacious Babes of Wrestling or something like that, BBW. And so like she sees that and she goes, oh, they do have something for me to do. So she decides she's going to go and join the wrestling club. And yeah, then it just kind of ends, and the mother box final message on the wall is, behold, in source a new miracle is born. So this is saying that Shiloh is worthy of being Mr. Miracle. And then, I guess that wasn't quite it. There's a lot going on in this book. Then even Funky Flashman has a cameo. He comes in for a second because I don't know why he's using the JLA transporters, but theirs was the only one that wasn't blocked, so he comes in. But then Oberon pushes him back into pushes him back in, and what's her name, Barda, is like, Oberon, that was not a nice thing to do. And Oberon says, you'd rather he stayed here? And he goes, well, I hope they don't retaliate, because they sent him to someplace in Russia. Where was it in Russia? Yeah, he says, hey, Barda, babe, they want to, you just sent Funky Flashman to Russia. Hey, Barda, babe, they want to learn about capitalism over there. Let them graduate early without their shirts. So, yeah. And then, like, we come in, is like, Highfather, after the poker game, said he was needed somewhere, and then he finds this guy. And what we find out here is this guy is like a recruiter for somebody, and for some company, a headhunter, and he's like offering Scott a huge job offer. Then we come to this one, and like, here's another character that goes back to the original run of Mr. Miracle, the Lump. And you know, seeing the Lump, sometimes I wonder if he's like the Hulk, but he really isn't anything like the Hulk. So yeah, this guy, then we come back, you know, right where we left off, and he's like telling him about the job offer. It's like, you know, a salary of $250,000, fully equipped lab, stock options, royalties. You know, he's like offering him the moon. And then Oberon here is like, what? No company car? But like Scott isn't really interested in that. So like he says, okay, we'll think about it. And at the same time, Shiloh, who is like recuperating there, he decides he has to go home. And after that meditation with the mother box, he's feeling really tired. And I really like the way he's got his room decorated. So he's got all of these eyes in the pyramids, and he's got kind of like this Salvador Dali clock. And like he's going to sleep, but at the same time he's going to sleep, there's an interstellar thing coming into Earth. And this is the Lump. So the Lump comes and he connects himself to Shiloh's brain, but then Shiloh doesn't realize it, and he's up and everything seems fine. I think he doesn't know why he missed his class, but then he's going to class. He gets hit on the head with this weird thing, and he decides he's going to take it in, but then he runs into this girl. And if you remember a couple of issues ago, he found out his girl was cheating on him. And so he kind of just turned his back on her and never to look back. But then he runs into this girl. He shows her this thing he found. He's taking it to his physics class. And I forget what she is. She's a chem major. And so she thinks it's something like a fish scale. And then we find out that there's he gets hit with a whole bunch of fish scales, and then there's a fish flying in the air. So, you know, if you're an intelligent reader, you figure, oh, this is like that Lump thing is in his head somehow. This is all happening in a dream or something. And so that's pretty much what's happening. And then like what it turns out is that the Lump more or less feeds on your id, and it makes you face the monsters of your id. So once Mr. Miracle and Highfather realize what's going on, they head there, but Scott knows that they can't really do anything for him because he has to be able to defeat this thing on his own, or it simply won't matter. Oh yeah, and then like right here, like this is the era, like this is 91, and in 1988, a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space came out. And so like I'm not really sure why Shiloh is majoring in physics, because he seems more like an art major, and like this hallucination seems to prove it to me as well as his room. So anyways, the mother box is trying to help him with this, and then we cut to the gym where the bodacious babes of wrestling are hanging out, and Barda is coming for a tryout, and she practically kills one of the girls, which turns out to be Oberon's favorites. And then he just can't believe what he did by unleashing that monster on there. But she gets the job in the wrestling thing. And then we go back to the battle with the lump, or, I guess it's really a battle with his inner id. And Mother Box tells him to get it in the heart, which is that apple. And, very interesting symbolism there. But then it just creates more clowns. So I wonder, I can't remember what year Army of Darkness came out. If it was... yeah, I think, I can't remember. Wasn't Evil Dead 2, was that in the late 80s, or was that like in 91 or 92? So this is before, I think this is before Army of Darkness came out. And I'm just thinking about when Ash is fighting this little tiny person's versions of him. And I think when he kills one, like they kind of double and triple, and they just divide, and there's like ends up being a whole bunch of them. And so yeah, this one was just to prove again that Shiloh is worthy of being Mr. Miracle, because he was able to take on a nemesis created by Granny Goodness that Scott had to take on in his early career as Mr. Miracle. And then it pretty much ends here, but then he realizes like, that he thinks he has a girlfriend now, because he remembers that girl from the dream, but then it turns out she's real. But she even like, her name is Fiona, because he forgets to ask the girl the name when he's in the dream. And I'm Fiona, are you quite finished or just plain crazy? He said, both, but only if you don't like escape artists. And she goes, well, I suppose Houdini did have a certain savoir hoodoo. So that's just showing that she talks like him. I mean, I don't get why that's the basis for the relationship. I liked it better in the dream, where they kind of had a natural chemistry without having to be to share this stupid gift for making, I guess it's like Cockney rhyming words. I don't get why you would, so I guess, I don't know. So anyways, I forget what she's, I'm just looking here. Yeah, I don't know what she's majoring in liberal arts. So the other girl was in chemistry, and she's in liberal arts, but she's got this same kind of use of creating idioms that Shiloh has. So that's the basis for their relationship. I don't know that that was a good move, quite honestly. But that's neither here or there. Overall, both of these books were highly enjoyable, especially issue 20. Was it 23? Yeah. So I've only got one more book left, because I don't have 25. So I think I have the last book in the series, which is 26, which is part 1 of 2, which I don't have the second part for because it's in a Justice League. But that's that. It was fun hanging out with you guys. So like, let me know what you think, especially any of the news of the day that's, and I will talk to you again soon with another daily vlog. Super Comic Fun Time out.